I would love to hear what sparked your interest in drama therapy and play and yeah, just accessing joy in the way that you have and or incorporating it into your work. I know you have such an interesting background that I would love to hear more
Oh,
about.
thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's fun to think back to the origins. And I think like most things, right, it kind of goes way back to when I was a kid and how I played, and I loved performing, I loved writing things and acting them out and being silly and all of
Mhm,
that. And then, as I grew up, I really wanted to be an actor and I loved
mhm,
comedy. So I did a lot in New York City with that. And I tended to write plays about my life that, plays about, some of the hard things in my life, but I tried to make them comedic and it was a therapeutic way for me to process some of these harder things that I went through. And
mhm,
I didn't even know at that point, I didn't know what drama therapy was. I had never heard of it. So eventually, around that time, I became a hospital clown. And so that was a big journey for me. And it actually was an over 10-year journey where I did medical and hospital clowning. Um, and so it started in New York City. I learned from a fantastic clown who had his own business. His name is Looney Lenny. Shout out to Looney Lenny in New York.
yeah.
He's pretty popular in New York City. So he was with Starlight Children's Foundation, where he would go into the hospitals and he would do magic shows for the kids. And he would do a show in the playroom, and then he would go to each bedside and see the kids who weren't able to come to the playroom. And so I first observed him at NYU Hospital in 2002. And I was so moved watching his work because my idea of a clown was like not what he was.
Mhm,
My idea of a clown, which to me, before I saw him, did not correlate with hospitals. I pictured like the white face, I pictured the big shoes, the wig, honk honk, all this stuff. And I was like, I don't know how this is going to be. But when I saw him, I immediately got it because his whole thing was more, like he had like an urban clown kind of style. He did not wear white makeup on his face. He had like very like subtle clown makeup on,
mhm,
and a really cool thought out costume. Um, his magic show, like he was very dry in his humor,
mhm,
but so skilled at the magic and interacting with the kids with the magic, using magic as a communication tool. And I was so touched. And I mean, yeah, he taught me all of his tricks and his magic
mhm.
show. And I worked for him for a long time. And I started off, my name was Shy Shy the Clown because that's how I felt inside. I was like, huh, you know, in the hospital settings, thinking I had to like tiptoe around and be really gentle. And eventually, as I gained a little bit more confidence, and especially with the magic show, because I didn't do magic before then. So it was all like, oh my gosh, am I doing this right? And so over time, I built, sort of a persona in my clown self, my inner clown, that felt like more comfortable. And, I had the confidence to um, walk in a hospital and engage with the kids at their level. So I learned a lot about being attuned to who I was with, to the room, what's happening in this room. Because sometimes I would walk into a room and there would be some pretty tough things going on. And the family might, have a lot going on at that moment. And so my job was to, be very sensitive and check in with what was going on and if they were open to, a little magic. And we see what happens from there. And more often than not, because magic is so much fun for most people, the child could have a little bit of a break from the tough stuff that they were going through, and they could be themselves again. They could have fun, they could use their imagination too. That was a big part of it. And the family, they also got engaged with it, and they got to see their child be a child again for those moments, those minutes. And so I loved that work so much. And then one day, an art therapist approached me in the hospital, and she asked me if I was a drama therapist. And I flipped out because I was like, what is that? I've never heard of that before. And she's like, yeah, you actually remind me of this drama therapist I met. And she connected me with this drama therapist who is so lovely. And I'm so proud that I got to meet her in the first place, because she's one of my mentors. Lucy McCoppin is her name. And at the time, she was working at Mount Sinai running groups in the psychiatric part of the hospital. And she invited me to come and observe a group. And so I got to see how powerful drama therapy was and how it lit up people from the inside out. I mean, it was incredible to behold. So at that point, I was like, okay, I got to do this. I got to go get my master's, go after this. Like this sort of makes sense of everything that I've been doing these last many years, right? So anyway, long story short, too late.
I love it.
I ended up moving out of New York for personal reasons. And then I ended up at Kansas State University to get my master's in drama therapy. And it was a blast. I'm so happy that I did that. I absolutely love my teacher, Sally Bailey, and all of the teachers she had to come in to teach us wonderful methods in drama therapy, of which I'm excited to use at your center. One of that being sociodrama. So I absolutely love this method. In fact, I want to shout out to Nancy Sondag, who was my sociodrama teacher. She recently passed, and she will always be remembered for her heart, her generosity, her sensitivity to every human she came into contact with. She was just a brilliant human being, and she was so generous in her mentorship in drama therapy, because our field is fairly small. When I got my registration as a drama therapist, I was only 581 in North America. So I think at this point, I'm going to take a guess, we might have like close to 1,000 now in our North American organization, but
Still not that many.
not that many. But we've been around pretty much since I was born. I think drama therapy sort of made itself known in the late 70s, and for some reason it's still not very known, among all the creative arts therapies. But anyway, it's sort of like, if you think about theater, it's pretty ripe for psychology. So you put theater and psychology together and you get drama therapy, right?